Okay, let's switch over. Let's, yeah. Martin, thank you for joining
Hey,
us.
James. Yeah, no problems.
Um,
Marvel technology.
yeah, let's see if I can. Okay, so let's just introduce maybe the point of tonight, and that is uh, to run through some video analysis to show everyone um, what your services are. Here we go. Good morning, James and Martin. Here we go. Sasha's online. Fantastic. It's working. Yeah, so we've got some videos come through. Just quickly introduce Martin Dunn. Martin Dunn's one of the world's leading surf coaches. Everyone probably knows that. So I think what I'm going to do is shut up. I'm going to switch views here, and Martin's going to drive the session, and we're going to basically take questions and answers as we kind of run through this session. And Martin's going to help us all out and kind of analyse a lot of the videos that have been sent through. So basically, over to you, Martin.
Okay, thanks, James. Hi, everyone. My name's Martin Dunn. I'm a surf coach from Australia. I've been a coach for almost 40 years now. When I first started coaching, there wasn't a coaching. There wasn't coaching, if you like. And I've been fortunate enough to see the evolution of surfing, but also the evolution of the profession of coaching. So, and one of the things I do a lot of is people send me videos and I do consultancy online where I review their footage. And what I'm hoping to do tonight is just to give some feedback to the surfers who sent a clip in for review, and to give them real direction for their surfing. Because a big part of actually becoming a better surfer is not only having the motivation to become a better surfer, but also to actually understand what you need to fix and how you could go about fixing it. So that's the type of thing I want to talk about tonight. And importantly, with that is that, there's when people have got issues in their surfing or they want to improve their surfing, there's the technical side of improving your surfing. So how you actually move your body, how you actually create the maneuvers that you're performing as you're surfing down the line. And then there's the decision making that you have to make decisions. So surfing is a lot of decision making. So, and a lot of people get things wrong when they're making decisions about their surfing. So they're the type of things I want to talk about tonight, and I'm happy to take questions at any time. And I haven't used this technology. James is telling me that he can drive this technology, so maybe the questions need to come through him. But again, that'll all be revealed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and you should be able to see a screen with a big Paul on it. And that's the first surfer we're going to look at tonight. Paul's a surfer from, well, a number of these clips are from wave pools, which is a new phenomenon in the world of surfing. Again, it wasn't in my world in 40 years ago. So it's a really exciting part of where surfing is going, especially for those who are landlocked, live in cities, can't get to the ocean often. It's a great technology, and it's only going to get better as time goes on. Am I right to go there, James? And
Yep.
no questions at this stage.
No, no,
All good.
good to go.
Okay, so I just want to talk about Paul. Paul actually has got two waves here. He's got the first one's a forehand wave, and then the second one's at the end of the presentation. And this is Paul surfing. You can see Paul's a good standard. And he does a number of maneuvers in this footage. What I'll do is I'll just show each wave that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to go back and talk about the wave as we go through. So from a technical point of view here, we can see Paul does a number of good things here. He gets the board on the rail, he turns his head and he looks back to the white water, moves his body appropriately. But then he gets a stalling, if you like, as the board stops just as he hits the whitewater, which indicates anytime you stop when you're surfing down the line, it normally means you've either made the wrong decision about what maneuver to perform, or the the technique you used was incorrect in some way. So if we go back and we have a look at Paul's snap that he does here, I class this as a snap. And the reason I class it as a snap is because the technique of performing a forehand snap is that you lean, you turn your head and look, and you throw or lift both arms in the direction where you're looking. You see him lifting that leading arm in particular up nice and high. So that's a really good technique. The problem here is that probably this maneuver, it should have been a full cutback, because the technique of doing a snap should be tied in the pocket rather than out on the face. So in my view, that Paul's doing a good snap action, but in a cutback section. And so doing a cutback would have been a great thing to do there, and could have rebounded off the foam, and that rebound off the foam would have actually helped maintain his speed. The second thing here is that when he comes, he comes up, his bottom turn's really good. I suspect Paul's probably a 6 footer, quite a tall guy. And for tall people, they struggle to bend their bodies. So I can see here that when Paul comes down, he bends his body well, he gets his hand forward. This is good technique for a bottom turn. So, I wouldn't have too many problems about that bottom turn. He comes all the way to the top of the wave, which is great. So he drives to the top, he does a snap maneuver. This is like this is what I call a hip snap, but he turns it into more of a layback, so a bit of flair from Paul there. And then as he comes out of there, he feels as though he needs speed, horizontal speed. So you can see he straightens his body and lifts his arms forward, which is really good. So his decision about getting speed was really good. And that's what was needed in that instance. And you can see he does it again here. So he does it again here. And the problem, the issue I've got here is not the fact that he does the technique well. It's just that at this moment here, he does it excessively. So the hands are up in the air like he's praising the Lord in a religious ceremony. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah, all that sort of stuff. So really what he needed to do here was just lift the arms up to shoulder level, and that would have been sufficient. So just a little bit too much there. This second pump, I call this pumping down the line. This second pump, see, straightens the body and lifts the arm forward. And you can see what the board does. The board actually jumps forward because of it. He gets an acceleration. And you'll see in the footage, in some of the other footage that we've got to talk about, there's surfers who haven't got that acceleration. They haven't got the ability to create speed. And as a result of that, they've got deficiencies in their surfing. When we have a look at, if I just go back and show you some surfers doing some of this some of the skills I talk about Paul there. See, this is Griffin Colapino at Bells Beach. So he comes up and he does a floater, comes off the bottom. And when he comes off the bottom, you can see he does a snap, but you can see he does the snap in the tightest possible place. So that's appropriate, and it's a good maneuver to perform. Okay. You can see the technique is lean, look, and throw, or lift that arm up, or lift the arms forward. And then the next maneuver, you can see he drives out more further from the face, from the foam. And in this case, he makes a choice of doing a full cutback. And the cutback is appropriate there because of the fact that he's a long way from the foam. And what he's trying to do is maintain his speed and flow. So he's drawing one smooth line from start to finish. So he comes around, he puts it high off the foam. That also takes him back deeper in the pocket in the wave, and then he can attack the next section by doing a big fin bust off the top and well controlled. So choosing what maneuver to do in the section that you're faced with. So if it's steep and tight, a pocket section, a snap is a good thing to do. If it's flat, the wave goes flat and you're a fair way around out from the foam, you're better off doing a cutback. The second thing that I spoke about to Paul was if you're going down the line like Paul did, he did a snap just like this guy here. This guy comes up and he does a snap. Again, the technique, lean, look, and lift the arms up. The lifting of the arms at the end of the maneuver actually gives you drive at the end of the maneuver. And if you don't use the arms, what happens is that you get a stoppage. Okay, and you see this serve, he does that, and then he lifts and throws. So the arms only go up to shoulder level. You see the board respond to there. That really jumps up forward because of that horizontal speed that he's creating. And then that gives him more speed to come down, get around the section, and then go into that next maneuver section of the ride. Okay, so, and if I just show you one more here, here's Steph Gilmore, again at Bells Beach. You can see she comes up, she does a high rebound off the top, re-entry, and she looks down the line and she decides, okay, I need to get to the next section quickly. So what does she do? She straightens and lifts the arms forward, and she straightens and lifts the arms forward. But the arms only come up to shoulder level. They don't go above the head. There are occasions where that is appropriate, where you lift more, but in a normal surface situation, it's the straightening of the body and lifting the arms forward will give you a jump forward with the board, an acceleration of the board, and then you can surf rail to rail with that speed that you have. So just those two things, Paul. I would have been doing a cutback as your first turn, and I wouldn't have been lifting the arms up as high when you're doing that speed creation. You know, it's good to have energy in your surfing. It's good, but sometimes it's good just to be more conservative in what you do rather than trying to attack sections where it doesn't work.
Martin,
Any questions on?
Yeah, Martin, can I ask a question about the speed generation? Can you just talk just about like the pushing, like, you know, crouched position, compressed, and then like stretching up and de-weighting the board and moving the hands forward? I personally get a lot of abuse about not generating enough speed. So how do you even start to do this? What are the correct things to think about then for the speed bump and for generating that speed?
If I just show you on a skateboard, you can see this guy, he gets his speed, and what he does, he bends his body and he lifts the arms. It's just straightening and lifting the arms to think. And if you look at his heels on the board, what actually happens is he straightens his body and he lifts himself up onto his toes. See, the heels are off the board. So he's unweighted the board completely when you do that action. And that's what you're trying to do. It's like a standing broad jump. When you're a kid at school, you're playing sports, they had a standing broad jump. It's all about jumping forward as fast as you can and as far as you can, but you're doing it on the wave. You know, you're doing it on the surf. And the most important time to do that, if I just get rid of that clip for a minute, the most important time to do that in most surfers, surfing thing is to learn it. So when you pop up on takeoff, so here's a surfer, he's popping up on takeoff. Sorry. Sure. So basically what happens here is that if you come up getting speed as part of the takeoff action, you pop up, and then if you're going to cut across the wave, again, it's this action of straightening and lifting, right? And doing those two things, it unweights the board and the board just jumps forward. Okay. So in sport, this is a particularly important action in surfing, in small wave surfing. And interestingly, if I just show you here, there's a Kelly Slater here at Pipe, and he gets a 10-point ride. I'll just play this through. A sec, I'll just get rid of the sound. I'll just play this through. You can see Kelly Slater here, and he's getting a 10-point ride. It's a great ride. It's really, it's unbelievable that he comes out of that. But a big part of that was that he stalled on takeoff, and then what he did, he straightened and lifted, and he straightened and lifted. You can see there his arms are up high. So he's doing that action, but he's doing the action in the tube. And guaranteed he's done it here, because when we see here, his arms are up again, and I guarantee you again, he's done it here. We can't see it, but I'm telling you, he did it. And that's a big part of the reason why he made this tube. So if you learn how to create speed in small waves, if you're if you're into taking off on big barreling waves, it's a skill that you need to be successful in that type of thing as well. Does that make sense? Yep.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think Paul's just messaging me now saying like fantastic. He wasn't expecting that stuff, but yeah, it makes total sense.
Well, I've got some other stuff for Paul on his back end at the end of the video. So stay on board, Paul.
Okay.
I've got some stuff that's probably going to be even more relevant for you.
Yeah, and apologies if it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour for everyone, but we've got quite a few people that sent videos in, so it'd be nice to get through them all. So yeah, let's move on to Sasha, who's another one of the locals at Bristol and has a big following on social media. Okay,
so here's Sasha. And thanks for sending the video in, Sasha. And we see at the, again, I'm looking at one wave fundamentally with people, and so I'm commenting on that one wave. Normally, what just for your information, what normally happens is when people send me videos, they send me 6 to 10 or 15 videos, and you get a good sense of what they do from a number of executions of the same skill, So, but anyway, so the thing I wanted to just point out with Sasha is that when he comes off, you can see there's two types of bottom turns. There's a minor bottom turn and there's a major bottom turn. Well, there's three types actually, but anyway, we'll just minor and major. What Sasha's doing here is a minor bottom turn in the fact that he's come down, he bends, he leans, but a major bottom turn is where the hand is reaching forward at that point. So this is a minor bottom turn, and I'll talk more about that in a more concerted way further in this presentation. The other thing that happens here is that as Sasha comes up to do the turn, you can see that he's leaning to do the turn. He's trying to turn his head. I can see he's trying to turn his head, and as he's trying to turn his head, his top arm's going back somewhat, okay, which actually has a bit of a stalling action. And the reason for that is the front arm locks in place. Okay, see, the front arm stays in place. It comes in and it's in the middle of the thigh at that point, and it only goes to the hip and stops there. Okay, so what happens then is because that front arm is locked in place, it stops the upper body rotation, which is a big part of force production. It stops the upper body rotation from happening as it should. And then as a result of that, at the end of the maneuver, Sasha gets a stalling or stoppage. And that stoppage is a real common thing I see when I'm working with people. And what it is just what Sasha needs to do, he needs to unlock the arm. Okay? It's a small change, but it has profound effects on when he would be doing the...
We're talking about the leading arm here, aren't we? And that stops the rotation.
We're talking about, in this case, we're talking about his right arm. Yeah. Yep. Okay, we're talking about his right arm. Yep. And just to show you what that means, if we look at a couple of surfers here, this surfer here, again, I'll show you. He'll do two snaps. He'll do two bottom turns and two snaps, right? And they're different, and they're used for a particular reason. So what he does, he comes down and he does a minor bottom turn where the hand goes up, his trailing arm goes up behind his back. He's looking at the top of the wave. He goes right to the top of the wave, but before he gets there, he turns his head. See the arm, this leading arm here, is pointing down towards the bottom of the wave, and then that sort of unlocks, if you like. It keeps on swinging back, and then his eyes look towards what I call the 6 o'clock position, so vertically straight down. Okay, but that all starts to happen before he gets to the top. So that unlocks, and because of that, he gets a nice, powerful turn, and he maintains his speed at the end of the maneuver. The next one, he comes down, he does a different bottom turn. You can see the hand is reaching forward. This is a major bottom turn, good compression of the body. and the like. So when you want to do a major top turn, you should do a major bottom turn. Okay. But this time when he comes up, you can see he comes up and he leans, and this time he turns his head and he looks over his shoulder back to where he did his bottom turn. Okay. So the arm, the leading arm, the right arm, it if you like, twists right away so that the rest of the body can rotate. And importantly, the hips can rotate. Okay. And if the hips rotate, all of that power, the upper body rotation goes through the hips, through the knees to the board, and that's where you get the power from. Okay. And so if the arm can unlock and you turn the head and then you get a lifting of the arms at the end of the maneuver, you get full power throughout the turn and you maintain your speed. So the thing that Sasha needs to do is he needs to unlock the arm, because unlocking the arm allows everything to flow as it should. Okay. The other thing that is important is that there's three types of snaps, three types of forehand snaps. There's three types of backhand snaps as well, but three types of snaps. And what you've got is you've got the first one, which is what I call a half snap, where the surfer comes up and they if you like, their leading arm points to the bottom, but they turn their head and they look directly to the bottom of the wave. Then another snap they do is this is a hip snap where they don't turn their head too much, and the hips do all the turning. And they do that in a steep section when it's a long wall ahead of them, because they haven't got time to do the half or the full snap. And here in the pocket section, they do what I call the full snap, where the surfer turns and looks back over their shoulder. Again, you can see the leading arm, the right arm in this case, it drops, it gets out of the way or rotates back around, allowing the surfer to get full rotation. And with that full rotation comes full power. So when we get back to Sasha surfing here, just this one thing alone, if he could work on coming up and pointing to the 6 o'clock, but then continuing the rotation around so it's pointing more towards the base of the foam, if you like, getting away from the hip, he'll have more opportunity to do a better turn. But also what that'll allow him at the end of the turn also to lift both arms in the direction where he's looking. And if he does that, he will maintain his speed and he'll be able to go into the next maneuver with full speed. When we go further in this Sasha's turn, a big part of doing your turns is also a really important part here is as Sasha comes up and he goes all the way to the top of the wave. Okay. Lots of surfers of a lesser skill than Sasha, they don't go all the way to the top. Why you go to the top of the wave is because you get more release. It's easier to do the turns. I talk about going to the top so that you break the top fin free as you're doing the turn. Not only creates lots of spray, but also it allows the board to come around in a much more easier way than if you don't go all the way to the top. In this case, Sasha's doing what I call a hip snap. Hip snap turns it into a bit of a layback with the arm going back. Okay, so the arm position that I talked about earlier isn't relevant at this moment because it's a different type of maneuver. Okay, so for Sasha, the unlocking the leading arm on the forehand snap probably is a problem on the forehand snap. It's probably also a problem on the forehand re-entry, I would think, in some instances. Yeah, that makes sense to everyone. Any questions at all?
I can't see any questions in the chat, but this is the two things that you've been telling me about: front arm blur for rotation and turn at the top of the wave. Yeah, well, it's a common problem. It's a problem for, these sort of issues are, 50, 60, 70% of the surfing population have these issues. Yeah. They know there's something wrong, but they can't put their finger on it. Yeah. And if they can't put their finger on it, they can't work out how to fix it. Right? So there's a 3-step process here. I feel something wrong.
I've got to learn exactly what's wrong, and then you've got to actually follow some sort of guidance to, okay, how do I fix that? Which I'll talk about towards the end of the presentation. Okay. The next surfer here is Pat. Pat's got some good stuff happening in his surfing. You know, he's a confident surfer. You know, I get to work with I get to work with all sorts of surfers, and at Pat's level, I do a lot of work in Australia with this type of surfer. So we can see here that when Pat comes off, the good thing about Pat surfing, he's decisive. So he goes straight into a carve maneuver. Okay, he sort of hits the foam, but doesn't hit it so hard. Comes up, does the next turn, goes to the top of the wave. Doesn't go as far high up as he could, but then what happens is he gets a funny little body thing there that it doesn't flow out of that turn as well, as he has to readjust as he comes out of the turn. He comes up, he does a better job on this next one. You can see he really does get a good slice off the top, and then you know, gets his speed. A couple of things here with Pat surfing is that in my view, if you're doing this regularly, in my view, this is an opportunity here to do either a carve or a full cutback. So a carve is a maneuver where you do the starting position that Pat's in right now, and the idea is you carve, and you end up on the bottom of the foam, bottom of the wave next to the foam, and you go into a deep bottom turn, so that you set up a tight and high next maneuver, or you do a full cutback. And if you do the full cutback, well, then you need to actually go up and try and do a re-entry off the foam. In this case, Pat tapped the foam, but he didn't hit the foam. Okay, so in my view, either one would have worked. But the non-hitting of the foam was the problem here in this particular maneuver. And then what happened in the next maneuver is that as Pat comes off the bottom, two things are going on here. There's off the bottom, Pat comes off the bottom, and a big part of doing a major bottom turn is that you come off the bottom and your leading arm, in this case, Pat's left arm, as he comes off, you can see he lifts the arm up. The hand only comes up to about shoulder level. In this case, if he wants to hit the top harder, that hand should come up above his head. Okay, so there should be another 20% lifting, 25% lifting of the leading arm, because that'll give you more direction and drive off the bottom. And then off the top, a big part of coming off the top is you've got to be decisive off the top. And we see here when Pat comes off the top, there's a decisive looking, right? So he's looking straight to the bottom, so that's great. And he's doing that before he gets to the top. But the problem is this arm lifts up, so the leading arm lifts up, but the trailing arm should then twist up behind his back. And the trailing arm doesn't do the twisting behind the back. So it sort of ends up next to the shoulder. Whereas in this type of maneuver, the hand should be up above his head, if you like. And I'll just show you what that looks like. I'll just escape out of there. So here we've got Leonardo Avanti from Italy. And we can see when he comes off the bottom, you see he comes off the bottom and he'll drive up. You can see the hand lifts up high. So the leading arm, the left arm lifts up high. Okay, and again, that's a part of the bottom turn. So because what you're trying to do is get as much extension or straightening out of the body, and the arm also gives you a directional thing up towards the. So you basically the arm's telling the rest of your body and your board, this is where I want to go, and this is where I want to go in a hard and fast way. If the arm doesn't lift up, or it doesn't lift up as high as it should, you're not giving that impetus to the board as it could be done. So lifting the arm high would be good, and I'll talk more about that later. And the other thing, if you look at his trailing arm here, so this is his right arm, you can see it really lifts and goes up way behind his back. So the hand is way behind his back, And what that does, again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to unlock the hips so the hips can whip around in a good way. And so if the arm only comes to here, like it does for Pat, it means there's a restriction on the hip rotation. If there's a restriction on the hip rotation, that means you can't get the maximum force to your board. With Leonardo here, it goes way up behind his back, and you can see the hips rotate and the board whips around in a dynamic way. Okay, so Pat's backhand turn would be improved by having more lift on the way up and more rotation as he's just coming off the top. You can see here also with Leonardo, he'll lift again to go up, not as much in the vertical here, but again, there's a decisive turning the head and looking to do this re-entry off the top, and he does it with ease. No, that's the only one I wanted to show, Pat, sorry. So that's what happened there. You can see that this funny bit that happens here, and not funny, we're laughing at you, Pat. It's more about it's just not as smooth as it could be off the top. And you can see Pat's trying to readjust and he gets a bit awkward there. Again, and when he comes off the bottom here, you can see the arm doesn't lift up as much again. It lifts up less on this one. And again, off the rotation, he gets the arm up behind his back a little bit more. But again, it could be up higher than what it is. So more power to go up, lifting to go up, and more rotation just before you get to the top would benefit Pat immensely on his backhand. That's understandable, or hopefully that makes sense. I'm using the other surfers to show.
No, it's working for me,
and
I'm getting some messages saying that it's very useful. I mean, the couple of takeaways there make a lot of sense.
Yep.
I know Pat's been definitely working on his backhand there, and I'm very jealous of that wrap he does into the rebound in the white water before he starts doing his snaps.
Well, again, the good thing about the wrap he does is the decisiveness he goes into it. So there's no hesitation there, and a big part of good surfing is being decisive. But then what the decision needs to be made. What's the best maneuver for the section face? And as I said, he could have done a cutback there or a carve. If he does a cutback, the aim of a cutback is to do a high rebound off the foam. Okay, so you want to smack it, as hard as you can. That puts you deeper in the section, and then you can come around and do a better next turn in the maneuver. And I'll show you an example of that in a moment. If you're doing a carve, well, that's a different maneuver and it has a different purpose. A carve is to do a long arc turn on the flat section to drive into a bottom turn, and it's basically a setup for the next section to do the carve. And a lot of people get those two mixed up, but they can be improved. Both of them can be improved as well. Okay, so the next surfer is Ollie. Okay, and if I just go again full screen,
yeah, brilliant.
This is Ollie. We're out of the wave pool. We're in wherever we are, surfing some lefts. So again, thanks very much for sending through the footage. It looks like it's a good left-hand wave. You're surfing Ollie if you're online, and you can see he's going across. There's a restriction off the top of the wave, and you can see that because of there's a hesitancy off the top. So if we look at this second wave, which is exactly the same as the first, when he comes down to do this bottom turn, it's great that you're setting up off the bottom. As you come off the bottom, you can see there's no lifting of the leading arm, or very little lifting of the leading arm. So that's the first thing I'd say is you need to practice coming off the bottom and lifting the arm up. And before you get to the top, you need to be decisive, looking, in this case, vertically down. Lots of surfers, when they're surfing along the line, they're doing their maneuvers and they're actually looking down the line as they're doing the maneuver. All right, so this surfer, Ollie's looking down this way. But to do a good, better quality turn, you see, Ollie's upper body has rotated, right? And so there's been a lot of rotation or twisting to turn the board off the top, but the head is actually blocking. What's the head doing? The head's blocking the hips rotating. And so instead of him having a powerful and decisive turn off the top, because he's looking down the line, he's got a hesitant and not decisive turn off the top. Okay. So what Ollie could do, and again, if we go through further, we'll see the same thing. Comes off the bottom, and off the bottom, the front arm, because it doesn't lift up, in this case, it blocks the rotation to go up up the wave, and so the trailing arm in this case goes backwards, and that's all because the front arm is locked. Okay, it doesn't lift up. When he gets to the top again, see, he doesn't quite get to the top of the wave, but again, that's probably because of the board not being directed in the right way. Again, if I show you here, this is a surfer from Peru, a fine surfer called Joaquin. Joaquin is a top line surfer from Peru. You can see he's very decisive in what he does. You see, he comes out, he does a full cutback. He gets height. You know, take note, Pat. Whenever you do a cutback, this is what you should do. You know, in my world, a cutback isn't a cutback unless you do a high rebound. That's the standard. It's a non-negotiable standard for all good surfers. You can see when Joaquin comes off the bottom, you can see he comes off and there's a lifting of the arm, as I said before. And before he gets to the top, he's turning and he's looking to the bottom. The hand, if you like, the elbow is up behind his back. But again, there's this decisiveness. And again, because he's turned and the arm and the trailing arm's twisted up towards his back, that allows his hips to rotate, and that's what gives him a good sharp turn off the top. Again, the same thing there. Really nice flowing turns. Lifting to go up, twisting to come back down. Okay. So that thing, Ollie, would be really important for you. You need to learn how to lift to go up and twist to come back. And the best way to do that is get a surf skateboard and practice that on a surf skateboard, which I'll show you towards the end of this presentation. Okay. Here's Christian.
Yeah, Christian's just emailed. I think this is one of your reference. Okay, yeah, Christian's just emailed, so I hope he's managed to find the stream. But yeah, definitely one of the better surfers.
Christian is a what?
He was just emailing me to find the stream, but he's definitely one of the better surfers for sure.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's Christian surfing a wave, and you can see surfing a wave pretty well. He's got a nice flow to his surfing, cuts across, does turns, and the like. Okay, so that's all really good. Christian's at a stage where he can, in my view, where he needs to improve the quality of each single manoeuvre that he's surfing down the line. Again, it depends on his motivation. If he just wants to surf and surf successfully, what he's doing is fine. If he wants to surf and he wants to surf, so he wants to be able to do the best quality turns he can do, well, then he can improve aspects of his surfing. Again, it depends. The old adage of the best surfer in the water is the one having the most fun is good for those surfers who just want to go for a surf. But if you want to become a good surfer, you can focus on your surfing and improve it dramatically. So if we look at Christian surfing from the point of view that he wants to be the best surfer he can be, what he can improve by improving his bottom turn. So his bottom turn can be improved by getting his chest closer to his knees, and that hand, which is touching the wave face, it could be reaching forward a little bit more, which again I'll show you in a moment what that looks like. When he comes to the top up here, we can see that he comes to do a turn. He's looking down the line, and then he decides to do the turn. Okay, so there's if you like, in this case here, there's an indecision about what maneuver he was going to do. A big part of good surfing, of more advanced surfing, is that you're actually making the decision about here, halfway up the face. So here because it's a little bit fatter section, you need to either do a carve or a cutback in this situation, because it's a fatter section, you're a long way from the foam. So what he does in the end, he does a carving turn, which is all right, which is good. As he comes out of the turn, you can see he's got a longer section he's faced with. And so what he should do here is generate some horizontal speed, just like I spoke about with Pat at the start, or Kelly Slater in the tube, using that action of straightening and unweighting the board. If he could do one good pump there, he'd have more speed to then go to the bottom of the wave to set up a more effective bottom turn. Again, here you can see the bottom turn is a minor bottom turn. You see he didn't reach for the wave. And that works because the wave's doing the work. But in that type of section, the best thing to do would have been the major bottom turn. And then when we come up here and he does the snap off the top, you can see he's doing the snap and he's doing what the hip snap. In my world, when I work with people, I have a rule. Your number one goal when you come around the section, if there's a pocket, is to do the head turn snap, because that gives you the most power and the most speed that you can have. Again, this is a good turn. There's no problem about it. But the thing about it is, if he had to come up and did a head turn snap like Pat did on that first wave, so lean, look, and throw, he would have more power. He'd end up on the bottom of the wave down here. He'd be deeper, and therefore he'd be coming around the section, and he'd be likely doing another maneuver here instead of being flat, again, without any acceleration, no speed creation. So the things that Christian needs to do is to learn how to The thing it needs to do is, after you've done a maneuver, okay, if you need to get to the next maneuver quickly, this technique of straightening and throwing is a really good thing to have. And you see this surfer here comes out, throws, and then does another little throw. And the idea is to get through this section, and then they've got more speed to do that maneuver there. So that's something Christian could learn to do, is if you've done a maneuver and you need to get to the next maneuver quickly, straighten and throw. Use your body to create the speed. Use your body to unweight the board, and you'll be able to advance. You'll be able to go through longer sections more readily in a more positive way. What a lot of people do in that situation is they come out and they do the turn, and then they bounce. They bounce to get their speed. Anyone who bounces is an indication that they haven't got that they haven't learnt the skill here of generating horizontal speed. This skill here. So if you bounce a lot in your surfing, this skill here is the one that you need to learn. The other thing that for Christian, again, to show you another example of that, here's a surfer, Hiroto or Hara, and he needs to get the next section quickly, so he straightens and lifts the arms. So in between maneuvers, it's a big thing for advanced surfers. They need to get to that next maneuver. They need to get the next section with full power. And in this case with Hiroto, he can throw it in the air. If he didn't do this action in between here, he probably wouldn't have had the speed to be successful with that aerial. So this creating speed on takeoff and in between maneuvers is a really important skill for advanced surfers. Okay. The other thing that I've got Hiroto again here, and Hiroto's got one of the best bottom turns in the world. Hiroto's bottom turn is outstanding. You can see he comes down, he bends down, gets into a set position, what I call a set position, chest close to knees, hand reaching forward, and he holds that for the count of one. Okay? He holds that for the count of one. And when you're actually holding that position, you're actually allowing the wave to push you along ride for that second. Free ride is really important because it adds to the power here, the re-entry. So you get vertical with just a minor bottom turn, but his vertical is better because he gets into this great bottom turn and he holds that for the count of one. And you can see when he comes out here, you can see he energizes as well. He straightens and lifts the arm a little bit to do the maneuver. Okay, so that's something you could also learn, Christian. And when you go out on the face, again, you can do the carve. Okay, but it's got to be decisive, or you can do the cutback, which is this one here, the cutback. This is another girl from Peru. I've done a lot of coaching in Peru. You can see this girl, she comes out onto a flat section. If you go out, if I have a rule, if fat, cut back. And if you're going to cut back, you want to cut back so that you go all the way back and you put it high off the foam. So if fat, cut back. And the reason why we do that is that we do a long arc turn. There's no hesitation. It's a positive turn. You come around, you put it high off the foam. What that does, it puts you deeper in the section. It allows this section here to build up. And normally the next maneuver of the ride is a better maneuver because of your commitment in the cutback. And in this case, this girl, Melanie, does a nice vertical, and then she goes through and does a bit of a layback, I think, as the next turn, some sort of like little half snap she does there. So why I'm telling you this, Christian, is because this is all decisive. Come around, does the cutback, really decisive, puts it deep, decisive into the vertical, and so on for the ride. Okay, so with your surfing, when we go back to your surfing here, oh, wrong one. I'll come back to that. With your surfing here, those decisiveness and the better quality turns are a big part of your improvement. So you're a good surfer now, but you can be better by learning how to do a major bottom turn, decisive in those fatter sections, snap or carve or a cutback, full head turn snap as your first choice, and then the second one, the last one here was better in the fact that you came up, and when you came up, you were decisive in the fact that you came up and you turned your head as your first choice. You see here there's a turning of the head. So that's a much more decisive thing. So a big part of advancing a performance is once you get to a certain level, it's your decision making that becomes more important than the technique. The decision making about what to do, when to do it, how to do it, is a really, really, really big part of advanced surfing performances.
Martin,
All good, James? Any questions?
Yeah, Martin, I've just had a question come in.
Yep.
Some of the pros, when we filmed at the wave pool, have said that the wave pool feels very different to the sea. So Spence has asked a good question. The whole point about doing a major bottom turn and reaching down and forward and the details that you've just talked about.
Yeah.
The wave pool doesn't prohibit you from training this, or does it? That's the question. Is do you even if you can't push quite as hard, you can still do the body mechanics? What's your thoughts on?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, the first bottom turn in the wave pools in Australia, like it's the Wave Garden variety right now. We've got 2 wave pools, Wave Garden ones. The first bottom turn of the ride can be a major bottom turn, or what you can do is you take off and cut across, and then get your speed and then drop to the bottom, and that can be a major bottom turn. So it depends. You can't do a major bottom turn on a flat, soft section. Kelly Slater can, but the average person can't. So you've got to, if it's steep and powerful, the major bottom turn is the way to go. If it's fat and soft, well, then the minor one is the way to go. As I showed you with that surfer before, who did the minor bottom turn, then the half snap, and then the major bottom turn and the full snap. There's decision needs to be made, and if you like, there's a feel. Sometimes if you're learning how to do the major one, you'll do it in the wrong spot and you'll feel it straight away. You'll dig a rail on the way up or whatever. It's just you made the wrong choice. And the way to develop the major bottom turn, I think, is to develop it on a skateboard. If you haven't got that now, you can develop it on a skateboard, and it's an effective way of training that style of surfing.
Okay, brilliant. We've got a second question as well. Obviously, you've been talking a lot of details for individuals with their own surfing, and there are lots of different things to work on. But one question came in saying, I can hold about 3 ideas in my head for training mantra. What are the top 3 tips? Now, obviously, you haven't seen this person surfing and so forth, but how many things do you think you can hold in your head going into a surf? Is it just 1 or 2 things, or what's the maximum, and what's optimal?
Oh, yeah, no, like if you're going out, yeah, I'd say 1 or 2 things is ideal. So better surfers can do a bit more. What it depends too. You can actually write little notes on your boards, and you can go, okay, I'm going to work on this for 3 waves, and look at your board, little reminders on your board, and okay, I'm going to work on that for another skill for 3 waves, or whatever. So it depends on the motivation and the level of focus that someone can have. The biggest problem for most surfers when they go in the water is they lose their focus. They'll see something, they'll see a wave down the line, they'll see someone do something on the wave when they're paddling back out, and their motivation just goes, and then it's a bit like when we well, anyway, it just goes. It's a difficult thing to do, but just like anything, you can learn to train. You can learn to train as a surfer. When you're learning how to do other skills, normally the coach is next door to you, right next door to you, and telling you what to do and how to do it and all that. It's difficult in surfing is because it's a solo exercise most times, and you can go out for what I do with people is I send them out for 6 waves or 40 minutes, and to work on a skill or work on a couple of skills. Because I know that if I just send them out without a time limit or a specific number of waves, it's a recipe for them losing their focus. So that's number 1. The focus is really, really important. Again, at the end of the presentation, I'll talk about that. It's just a little story. I was working with the best junior woman surfer in California about 10 years ago. This girl didn't go on to a career. She could have, but she didn't for various reasons. And when I worked with her, I was in California and working with her, and I'd send her out and I'd just go out for 40 minutes or 6 waves with what I talked to people about. Hour and a half later, she comes in and I said, well, you're supposed to come in and talk to me. Oh, no, I was just out there surfing, So, and then she went back out understanding 6 waves and 40 minutes, and she stayed out longer than the time. So it told to me straight away, I just had a revelation. She just doesn't know how to train. She just doesn't know how to train to be a surfer because it's just come naturally for her. Okay. And so everyone, a lot of people I work with, I have to actually teach them how to train, how to stay focused, how to keep their mind on the job, the period of time to stay focused. A lot of people go, well, that's not much fun. I don't surf to do that. Well, that's fine. Anyone can do surfing as they want. But if you want to be a better surfer, you have to focus. You hit a plateau, you can't get any better. That's because you don't know what you need to work on, you don't know how to work on it, and you don't know how to stay focused. So if you like, they're the couple of things that I would recommend to your questioner there.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks for that.
Okay. So the next surfer is we'll see Alex. Okay. Alex. Okay. So here's Alex. Alex is wave pool surfer. There's a couple of things here. I don't want to talk too much about Alex surfing other than just the obvious things in the surfing. And the obvious things with Alex is that he's got a slow pop-up. A big part of improving a pop-up or jumping to your feet is knowing what you do. So in this case here, Alex goes front knee, back foot, front foot. Okay. So again, front knee, back foot, front foot. So it's a 3-stage pop-up. And even though that doesn't affect him in this case, Sometimes it would. And if you're in really hollow waves, it can be a real problem. So, and the way, you know, of all the maneuvers in surfing to fix, a slow pop up is probably the hardest. You know, you can fix aerial people who do aerials much easier than fixing pop ups that are slow. So just I'll give that a caveat. Just so what you're trying to do, Alex, is you're trying to pop up so you both hit the board together. The way to do that is to do simulations on the land. Do lots of popping up, and then when you get in the ocean, instead of thinking about riding the wave, think about when you paddle in. The only thing you think about if you're working in your pop up is you're only thinking about is the pop up on takeoff. Because what happens again when people go to work on their pop up in the surf, they might think about it for one or two waves and then they just lose focus. So you've got to set a target. Okay, for the first 3 or 4 waves, I'm just going to focus on my pop up, and my pop up is I'm trying to pop up in one go, so both feet hit the board together. So we're trying to eliminate the knee happening there. Alex, is it Alex? I think it is. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll just go back here.
Yeah, and you were telling me though, Martin, as well. You can do this the pop-up technique, and you've got tutorials on this, and you can do this on the TV. You can do this at home. You just got to get the reps in and get the body mechanics and the hips working, right?
That's right. And perfect practice is the way to go. It's not practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. So you're trying to do it as well as you can. The second thing here, you know, with Alex, I could talk about his bottom turn. I could talk about a number of things here. You can see he does bend the body, which is good. He does rotate a little bit too early in the turn, which affects, so there's a little bit of an early rotation. The thing is that he doesn't go right to the top of the wave. See that he only goes 2/3 of the way up. And so what that means is that there's more board in contact with the water, so there's less release off the top. So by only going 2/3 of the way up the wave, you're doing a more difficult turn. The board doesn't come around as easier as it does if you go all the way to the top. So my thing there is that you want to drive to the top so that your top fin's breaking free, right? The other thing that happens here is that when he goes to the top, you can see that as he gets to the top of the wave, he gets to the top. If you look at his head, what happens is the head doesn't turn until after he starts to turn. And then it just starts to turn now. So this is well into the turn. The idea of good surfing, improving surfing, is go all the way to the top, but before you get to the top, the leading arm and the head should turn and look towards the 6 o'clock position. So what does the 6 o'clock position look like? Here's a surfer, he takes off. Here's a surfer, he takes off, he gets his speed, and he comes down and he comes up to do the turn. And you can see here, if you think about the clock face, that when he comes up to the top, before he gets to the top, everything starts to rotate in the direction of where he wants to go. And where he wants to go is he wants to look towards the 6 o'clock or the 7 o'clock position at the bottom of the wave. Okay? Because that's where he wants the board to turn to. And you can see when he does, the board turns and points to that position on the wave. So he's done two things here. He's driven right to the top of the wave, and he's looked towards the bottom. You see on this next one he comes down, he does a major bottom turn. So he bends the body, hand reaching forward, comes up, and he goes all the way to the top. But before he gets to the top, again, there's this rotation away from the top, and that begins the turn before he gets to the top. So the board already knows at that point where it's going. Okay, really important. And lots of people at Alex's level, they don't go to the top, and they don't turn before they get to the top. So this thing here, right here, you see everything starts to turn before he gets to the top. Looks to a specific point, which is looking to vertically down or to the 6 o'clock position. Excuse me. Board goes to that point, and then he comes off the bottom. He's rushed in this time, and he does an arms up action, which is a different maneuver to complete the maneuver. So what Alex needs to do is he needs to learn how to drive more to the top of the wave. And a lot of time you don't need a different technique for that. You just need an intention. What am I trying to do? What's my intention? My intention is I'm going to try and go right to the top. How high do I want to go? I want to go up to the top, so I'm breaking the top fin free. Okay, so I'm breaking the top fin free. That means you've still got 2 fins in the water, or it might be 3 if you've got 4-fin surfboard, or 1 fin if you've got a twin fin. But it's important that you go all the way to the top. And then the other thing that I think is important for this surfer here, he goes more to the top here, but it wasn't right to the top again. Okay, he needed to go another 6 inches to the top. Then he came out of that, and what he needs to learn here is he needs how to learn to generate horizontal speed. So straighten the body, lift the arms forward. See the bouncing. As soon as someone starts bouncing, it's an indication they're trying to get speed. And so he needs to learn the technique of generating speed in that instance. Okay. So there are 2 things. Go right to the top, turn before you get to the top to look to the bottom, and learn how to generate speed.
Fantastic.
All good? Yep. Okay, so the next surfer here, the next surfer we've got is
Might even be Spence, I think, next. Spencer, he's definitely online. Rich Harvey.
Rich Harvey. Okay, so Rich Harvey, nice wave. Obviously not in England, somewhere in the tropics, and he's going down the line, surfing top to bottom. All good. So that's great. Really nice wave somewhere in the beautiful part of the world. With this surfer here, there's a because he's taken off deep, he's confronted with a later section. So what needed to be done here was what he could have done here was he could have cut across to generate some horizontal speed. He decided to go to the bottom of the wave. So he could have cut across initially to get horizontal speed and then drop to the bottom. But he went all the way to the bottom, and because of that, he was a little bit behind the section to do a maneuver. So that's one thing. And then what happened too, he had an opportunity after that first section, he had an opportunity here to go up and hit the lip. Okay, go up and hit the lip. Didn't want to do that because it was a little bit late, which indicates to me that he hasn't got the technique of throwing it up on the section, which I call a lift reentry or an arms up reentry, which I'll show you in a moment what that is. And then when he got to the open face, in this case he didn't go all the way to the top. He only went 3/4 of the way up, so he didn't go up to the top to break the top fin free. And then he comes through. Didn't go all the way to the top on the next one as well, so he's a little bit low on those next 2 turns. And then now he's got to the top, and then this one here he got right to the top, which is great. So on this particular wave, again, if I was working with a surfer, the first thing I would do, if this was the normal wave, okay, so one wave doesn't aren't there, or the approach isn't as good as it could be. So I don't know whether he's got the capacity to generate horizontal speed, but he didn't do it there, so that didn't happen. And then he came through. He didn't attack this section when he could have attacked it, so that means he hasn't got the lift reentry. He didn't go all the way to the top there, which is just an intentional thing. Then there as well. So that particular wave, a surfer of this level, with a little bit more of changes in intention and learning how to do a lift reentry, he would have, if that was a competition, for instance, I would give that wave probably a 3.5. If he could learn that, if he had surfed it a little bit differently, had better intention, had done the lift re-entry, he could have got maybe a 6.57. So just with a couple of little changes. So what I'm talking about there, not necessarily competition, I'm talking about the excitement that he could have. So if we look at another surfer here, this is a surfer at Bells Beach. I've turned him around to be a goofy footer. You can see he comes off and straight away he's into the lip, straight back up into the lip, into the lip. So that's the type of surfing that Richard could have done with some development of his surfing, and with every turn that you develop, your confidence goes up. So you improve your psychology in your surfing, your confidence goes up. So that's the type of surfing I think Richard could have done. Is definitely capable of doing. One of the skills that he needs to learn is this skill here, which is this is a pro surfer from France, Pauline Odo, who I've worked with in Australia a number of times. She also works with my son-in-law, who's a coach as well, a French coach. And we can see here that what this surfer does is she comes off the bottom, does a great bottom turn, and she's got to climb this foam section here. And to climb that foam section, she needs to lift both arms up above her head. So it's a different technique, and you use it for this particular type of situation, because it's the same technique as what you use to generate speed, if you like, but what we're trying to do is create lift to lift up and over the section. Okay, and then so she goes up high. You see she gets up really high, her front foot's way above the lip, and then that allows her to readily recenter over her board. Okay, lots of surfers, they get to a point, and what they do is when they come around a section like this, they're looking for the face, to do the open face maneuver. And my job as a coach is to say to them, well, that's good, that's good, but it's better if you can come around and go vertical in that situation. But to go vertical, you need to be able to do this technique, which is to throw both arms up above your head, the lift re-entry. Very, very important to have. If you're getting to that level in your surfing, you must have that particular skill under control. So that's the type of thing Richard needs to do. Have the intention of attacking the lip, throw it up, go right to the top of the wave, maybe generate horizontal speed, which I'm not sure about. I need to see more waves. But every maneuver on that wave should have been at this height. Okay. And so if you're taking off and you're racing down the line, the moment the wave has a break, your first thing is to get right to the top of the wave. Again, doing a re-entry or breaking the top fin free. Huge improvement in performance can be had in that situation. Okay. Any questions from that, James?
No, I think, yeah, I'm actually a little bit gutted that the feedback's so positive for Richard. He's a friend of mine, so he's a good surfer and a great bloke.
Let's hope he takes it. Let's hope it takes it as it's meant to be. Here's Spencer.
Yep, Spencer's online, so he's been waiting.
Yep. Okay, so here's Spencer, and we can see here, he's surfing the wave. There's some similar things to what I've spoken about before to other people. First rule of surfing for me is your first choice when you come around a section is to do some sort of head turn snap. So Richard does like a hip snap. The trailing arm comes up above his head, which is good, right? But because the head didn't turn, the rotation of the upper body didn't go so much towards to the board. So in that case there, with that case there, would have been better for him to do a more look down to the bottom, more decisive looking to the bottom, or look over his shoulder back to where he did the bottom turn. Okay, and then throwing the arms in that direction. So he is lifting the arms, which is good, but because the head doesn't turn as much as it should, the the arms aren't being used for creating force in the direction where they need to go. The second thing is here, you see he going horizontally across and he straightens the body, but the arms aren't being lifted forward. So he needs to learn the speed creation in a more effective way. You see the leading arm in particular stays low, so the right arm stays low. He is straightening his body, he is getting acceleration, but again, it's not as good as it could be. And again, when he comes out here, again, the maneuver is the look down the line type of turn. And again, that's fine. That's a relevant turn, but you'll always do a better turn if you turn the head. And again, if I show you examples of that, I won't show you Mick just yet. I'll show you Mick in a minute. Here's a surfer from the Maldives. He's a California guy. His first choice is he does a head turn snap. Comes around, first choice, head turn snap. You can see the beautiful turns. Again, they're bigger waves and stuff, but the whole thing, he doesn't worry about doing the look down the line. So he does a head turn snap. So he looks over his shoulder, back to where he did his bottom turn, and then he lifts both arms in that direction at the end. You see the board really respond. Same thing here, and he gets a bit of slide on this next one. So where you look is the intention of what you're trying to achieve. Again, it unlocks the hips, you get lots of power. And even though this is a bigger wave than the wave pool, the same principle applies. When he comes to the third turn here, you can see, well, he's not really that interested. He does the third turn because the section's not that interesting for him to attack. When you have a look at the good surfers, the world class surfers, here's Mick Fanning. You'll see Mick Fanning. He'll do two snaps. His first choice is the head turn snap. Second choice is the half snap, and then he does a vertical as his third turn. Right. So the thing if you like, one takeaway from this presentation is that if you come around section, your first choice should be to lean, turn your head and look over your shoulder back to where you did your bottom turn. That should be first choice. If the wave is faster and running down the line, well, then a half snap should be your first choice. Or if it's a really long section, the hip snap should be the one. But if you've got time, this type of snap, lean, look, and throw. In Mick's case, he looks way, way back. That's not necessary for most people. Just looking to the base of the foam is what you need to do. Or you come up and it's lean, decisively turn and look to the 6 o'clock position, looking straight down, looking down here. That allows everything to rotate, everything to twist. So the intention, the decision making becomes really important. So the decision, the intention, and then the action is the sequence of what you're trying to achieve. Maldives, okay. So I think that would be good just on this wave here for
Spencer.
Rich Spencer. I'm sorry, Spencer.
Yeah.
This particular one, because he did that type of snap twice on that wave, it suggests to me that that's his go-to move. So he needs to. I would think that he probably needs to vary that, play around with the different types of snaps, learn how to generate speed in between maneuvers, and they would be really, really beneficial for him. Okay.
Amazing.
The last one here is bonus Paul, and with Paul here, we can see he comes up, and again he's decisive, which is great. Comes down the bottom, comes up to the top, and whips it off the top, and does that. So here, if we go back to Paul here, I like the decisiveness, Paul, of your, you come out, you drive out, and you go put the hand down. Be careful not to put the hand into the water too much. Sometimes that can lock there. Then it stops you from lifting it out of the water. If you like, the wave grabs your arm. It's better just going down fingertip control, putting the fingers down on the board. If I just show you what I mean by that, here's Connor. Oh, sorry, one. his Conor O'Leary as a I put him around to as a good. I've turned him around to be a natural footer. But you can see with Conor here, you can see when you have a look at Conor here, you see he again this thing about driving with the arms. You can see the arms lift up, decisive look back. The arm goes up behind his back. Whips allows the hips to rotate. He comes out. He throws the arms to generate horizontal speed. Yeah, so he does that. But then when he comes out to do his cutback, you can see the hand doesn't. It sort of just fingertips. Yeah, fingertips all the way around. Beautiful flow. Comes around, and his intention is to do a high rebound off the phone. Okay, so decisiveness, all that stuff works really well. So be careful about putting the hand in the face like that. If you're going to do a cutback, you want to do a rebound off the foam. That should be part of your intention to come around. And then when you come down here, this is important. As I was talking to Pat earlier, I think, as you come up to do this turn, you can see what happens here is that you turn before you get to the top, which is correct. The arm goes up behind your back somewhat. You see here that if you like, you're looking straight to the 6 o'clock position. I'll just make this full screen. So you're looking straight to the 6 o'clock position. But before the maneuver is finished, you start to look down the line a little bit. The head turns, the shape of the head turns, and it looks like you're starting to think about the next maneuver. Okay. And what you need to do, Paul, is you need to come up and look to the bottom and continue looking to that spot until the maneuver is fully completed. Okay. Now you might go, oh, well, what difference does that make? The difference is it makes it so that the maneuver is done in a smooth and controlled way. Here's Ethan Ewing coming up, looks to the bottom, just like you did, Paul, but he continues looking there until the maneuver is completed. Comes out there again, comes off the bottom, looks to the bottom, maneuver is completed. A big issue for a lot of surfers is they want to look down the line of what's coming up instead of what they're doing right now. So you want to actually do the maneuver, complete the maneuver before you actually start thinking about the next move further down the line. Okay, just a small change, but a profound change, a major change to the thing.
There's a question, Martin, from Paul at the start, actually, for his forehand as well as his backhand, and I guess the same for Pat. Yep. They were asking about the whitewater, about the rebound. I mean, you've said a couple of times about trying to target and always head towards the whitewater and where the pocket is. But how far should you, when you're starting to do this thing, should you do your rebound before the whitewater? Should you do it in the whitewater? What's the easiest way to kind of get into it to actually start doing that?
Well, as you're learning cutbacks, you should turn before you get to the whitewater, right? So as you're learning cutbacks, you should. If I just show you on a forehand example, here's a surfer learning how to do a cutback, and what they do is they drive out, they go to the top, they get into a good set position, and they do a long arc turn, but they turn before they do the rebound.
Yeah.
So that when you're learning how to do cutbacks, forehand or backhand, that's what you should do. Don't worry about doing the rebound. Get comfortable about driving out to the top. A big part of doing a good cutback is driving out and up to the top of the wave. That starting moment. Then getting into a good set position. In this case here, this set position is very important. And then draw that longer arc.
Yeah.
Okay. If then what happens is that as you sorry, I'll come here, cutbacks. As you develop your cutback, you need to. A big part is again this early part of driving out and up, getting to a set position. Now what you want to do to improve your cutback is come around and you want to drive up. And you want to hit it high enough so your front foot is above the lip on the impact. So you want to drive it so the front foot is above the foam when you hit it.
Nice.
So it's just like doing a backhand re-entry in this case. On a backhand cutback, it's like doing a forehand re-entry. You've got to go high to actually have control. Okay. And what a lot of people do is they tap it. Like I spoke to Pat about, you just tap the foam. So he might have went on the backhand, but if it was a forehand one, he would have went to about there, tried to turn. The problem with that is if you don't hit it hard, what happens is that the wave has control of the situation. It's a bit like if you're a rugby player or a soccer player. If you don't go in hard for the tackle, the other person's got the advantage. Like if you're a rugby player and there's a 15-stone front rower running at you, you can't go in soft to him. You've got to hit him just as hard as he's trying to hit you. Okay, that way you don't get injured. It's the same when you've got a powerful situation in surfing. The wave's got a lot of power. You have to match that power, and the way to do that in an impact is hit it so your front foot is above the lip on impact. A big part of that is actually turning before you get to the top. And the way I teach it is that you turn it like you're doing a vertical entry. You turn so you're looking vertically down. What a lot of people do is that at this point, they're turned and they're looking way back down the line. And that works most times, but a lot of times what happens is they get caught in the foam because they put too much rotation to the board. So it stalls in the foam. So it works a lot of time, but often they get a mistake there. The best way to rebound off the foam is to come up and hit it and look straight to the bottom before impact. And then it's just like a backhand vertical. The board will come around, you get some rotation, but you won't get a stalling effect off the board, right? And then again, in this case, you can see the wave build up and he gets to do a nice re-entry off the foam as a consequence.
Nice.
So,
perfect.
So it depends on what level you are. If you're learning how to do the basic one, learn how to drive up, get in a nice set position and draw a longer arc. If you're learning how to improve an already cut back, the idea is come around and do it so that you're hitting it so that your front foot is above the foam on impact.
Amazing.
There's another level above that, which is the vertical rebound, which is like the stuff that the top pros do. So there's a progression with all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, brilliant.
So we just finally with Paul, fingertips when you're going down here rather than putting the arm down to the elbow, if you like. Hit it hard. Work on getting it hard. This one here, this is really the important one for Paul. When he comes up, does the thing, continue looking to that point until the manoeuvre is completed. Then look down the line. I'll just show you a classic one here. I haven't got it set up, but I know where it is. This is my library. I've got like 800 videos here, all different things in what I do. But here's Conor O'Leary as a professional before he became a WCT surfer. And you can see he comes up and he'll go vertical, but before he gets to the top, he looks vertically down. Vertically down. He's still looking there as he's coming down. Then he looks down the line.
Yeah.
So he commits with his eyes, comes out there, does the next one. He's a bit rushed with this next one, but the same thing applies. But on this next one where it's a backhand snap, he comes up and again you can see the lifting of the arm to get it up there. He turns, he looks back to the base of the foam. The arm's up behind his back, okay? Arm's up behind his back, which allows his hips to rotate. So he gets a whipping off the top. But again, he's looking until the manoeuvre's completed. Okay, then he looks down the line. Really big. This of all the people I work with at a certain level, probably 70-80% of people rush out of the turn with their eyes. So it's a big issue in surfing. When we're looking at surfing, there being 20 or 30 million people who surf. That's a lot of surfers who don't do that skill very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you can see it very clearly.
Yeah, so I just wanted to show you just a couple of things. If there's some questions, I wanted to show you what people can do. So I've talked about what specific skills surfers can work on, depending on their needs. here's a surfer who is learning how to do a backhand bottom turn to a top turn on the park. And the important thing here is that he's bending into a good set position. He comes out there, and the important thing is here, the lifting of the leading arm above his head. For those surfers, I said, you need to learn how to lift off the bottom. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so you can learn that in the park, practice that, and before you get to the top, remember you're turning and looking, being decisive and looking to the bottom. If it's a snap you're working on, the trailing arm lifts up behind your back. Okay, and the more perfectly you do that, the more readily that'll transfer to performance in the water. That's a backhand. Here's a forehand cutback. You can do this on the beach. You can do this park. You can do it watching TV. Again, so in this case, he drives out and up to the top of the wave, gets into a good set position, holds it for the count of 2, and then leading arm again to do the rebound. So you're mimicking what you want to do in the ocean. That works really well. What you can do is you can actually then go to a skateboard, and you can do skateboard. You can do a single maneuvers, or you can do multiple maneuvers. So this is a multiple one. Get your speed, forehand bottom turn, forehand top turn, get your speed, and then forehand cutback. So this is a multi-drill. If I was training this guy, I'd do all of those maneuvers singly. So, half a dozen executions, excuse me, and then I'd get him to do them as a multiple, because that's what we do in the ocean, is we're not just doing single maneuvers, we're doing combination of maneuvers. So when you do this skate training, doing singular maneuvers to get the technique. So here, backhand bottom turn, backhand top turn, backhand speed creation, backhand cutback. Stuff works really, really well. I use it all the time. It's great. I've been using this for 30 years, this type of training. And then, if you can do that type of training, you do it perfectly, you go to the ocean, you work on the skill you're working on, you get great results. There's no magic to this. This is just what you do. The other thing I just wanted to show you is so you can do skate simulations. It's important to know is you've got to stay focused on task. So if you're going to work on your surfing, staying focused on task is a big, big area. And so some of the things you can do is you can, before you go surfing, you can watch videos of the skill. You can do simulations. You can surf the simulation. You can agree on a word that helps you perform the skill. So it might be that you need to get lower on the bottom turn. So saying low as you drop down, or reach, or hit, or some word that makes you think about what body position you need to get to, or high, or break the top fin free if you need to get higher. What you can do also is you can write reminders on the nose of your board. The lead pencil is my greatest coaching tool. I'm always writing notes on surfers' boards. You don't give too much, one word, a little diagram. It doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be small. Just something that you can focus on to keep your mind focused on task. And you can change that regularly with a pencil. You can simulate the board. I do, as I said, I do lots of skate training. The thing about skate training, it has to be done perfectly. So on my website, esurfr.com, I've got 150 drills on skate training. And what they're designed to do is to actually teach people how to do it perfectly. Because if you do it perfectly on the skateboard, you're more likely to do it perfectly when you're in the ocean. The other thing is the key words. They're called task relevant words or mood words. In this case, task relevant words. In this case, this surfer is telling himself to bend as he's landing a floater in that case. And another thing you can do is, one thing that works really well, really simple, you have wax dots. So you put little wax dots on your board, one side of the stringer, and you're working on something in the water. So you're working on your cutback, and each time you have a successful execution, you move a dot to the other side of the stringer, showing a successful execution. And then, it might be I'm going to do that for 4 waves or 4 attempts or I do it successfully 4 times. I get it over there 4 times, job done. I can then refocus on some other skill, or I just go free surfing, whatever you want to do. But it's a focusing tool. This is a really simple thing. It's a bit like riding on your board, but this is every time you move a wax dot, it's like someone's you're patting yourself on the back. Job well done, and so you're on task. And then staying focused creates deep practice. Okay, the old adage that practice makes perfect isn't correct. Perfect practice makes perfect. Okay, that's the essence of what you're trying to do. So staying focused takes a while to learn those things. That's important. Any questions on that, Andrew? Sorry, James.
No, I mean, look, we've done a little bit of work together, and I think that's the key thing to point out here from your coaching is that, one, you do the video analysis like many other coaches do, but your real value add is that you then go on to say, here's the drills, here's the structure, here's what you should think about before you go into the water. Let's then also debrief afterwards, focusing on some good and some bad. And so you close off the learning loop. And so I would argue from the time we've spent together that you're like a proper coach, and it just happens to be in surfing as well. And you've obviously got a deep knowledge there. So it's good that you've just touched on those things to give people a little sample.
Yeah, the other thing I want to show people is I've got a website, easesurfr.com. And the thing about my website is that two things. People can either send me videos for review, and like this, but much more comprehensive. It's individualized to them. Or what they can do is they can sign up for my website, which is only $5 a month, which is nothing really. But what they get access to is 500 videos. So all these videos are between 2 and 10 minutes long. And so I've got webinars. These are all individual videos. So decision-making videos, deep dives into different topics, some of my early work videos, bit of fitness. I don't do a lot of fitness because I recommend that people find their local fitness guy to work with someone. I think that's the best way to go. General information. So these are interviews with board shapers. Jesse Miley Dyer who I used to coach actually. Chelsea Hedges, who I used to coach, former world champion. A number of people there. Master classes with coaches and different things. Surf coaches, just specific surf coaches that I know and I've worked with, and I've actually coached them as surfers as well. Technique videos, training videos. There's over 500 videos on my site. $4.95 a month. So, and all of that, there's all that stuff. But besides that, the number one thing that people can do, they need to be able to pinpoint exactly what's going wrong with their surfing. And so my video review business, my consultancy business, easesurfr.com, people are interested in know more, go there and send me a video, and I can be highly specific to your surfing needs.
Yeah, I think also, Martin, I think like obviously it's great for us being in different countries. We've got people online from Australia, some people in America, one guy in Portugal. It's great to have the Zoom coaching and the reference material here, but you also do in-person coaching as well. And I think you're coming to Europe soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm coming to Portugal next week, actually. I'm going to be down in southern Portugal, a place called Algeciras. I'll be down there doing 3 camps next week. Well, first 3 weeks of October, I'll be in Portugal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do training camps around, mainly in Australia, but I do travel from time to time. I did camps in Portugal last year; they were a success. So I'm going back for the face-to-face stuff.
Okay, and if people want to find out about your availability, I'm going to start putting stuff on the Hody platform about coaching directories and hopefully a calendar and so forth, so people can start putting their stuff there. But they can find this stuff on your webpage, can they? And
yeah, they can. Yeah, they can contact me through my website. or my email. Most people contact me via email.
Yeah.
info@martindunn.com.au.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
Yep.
Let me just switch this back to the two-person screen.
Okay, so I'll stop my share and then we're back talking to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's quickly. So there you go, Martin. Your full screen.
Any final questions, James?
No, I think look, we've been going an hour and a half, and it's whizzed past. Most people are still online here, but if there's any final questions for Martin, quickly drop them in the chat. There's about a 2-second latency delays, but we'll see it straight away. But if not, I think basically a massive thank you to you, Martin. It's 6 a.m. in Sydney, or East Coast, so now it's 7:30. Thanks for getting up so early. Thanks for reaching out to a new group of people. Hopefully, get to all the messages coming in is like, wow, this has been great. Wow, it's got great details. So. Yeah, hopefully got you in front of some more people, and more people have benefited from all your knowledge. So win-win for everyone, I hope.
Sure. Yeah, well, like as I said, I've been coaching for a long time. I still love working with surfers. I love working with motivated surfers. I've got a couple of young champions in Australia I work with. I work with surfing mums. I work with grommets. I work with, 50-year-old, longboarders. I work. Actually working with a disabled surfer right now who just wins a lot of the contests. A woman from Hawaii, and so that's a really interesting gig. So I'm comfortable working at every level of surfing, and it's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure to work with people and help them be a better surfer.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Well, at that point, I think I'll close the stream down. I'll quickly chat to you and say thanks to you personally, Martin. But for everyone else, thank you for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. You can see Martin can't see it, but at the top you can see martindunn.com.au, and this stream will be live. It's now going to be recorded on YouTube, so we'll put it on Hody and we'll put it on the Average Joe. And it'll obviously be on the Hody platform as well. So thanks everyone, and we're going to do this again hopefully. Shapers, other coaches, other pro surfers. So catch you soon. See you later, everyone.